it's Melissa Langton from Accelerate, and I've got your dose of people paracetamol today, and the next installment in our Unlocking the Code to a High Performing Business video series. Today we have a really special guest. It's Mark Smith from SLF Lawyers. Now, Mark has an amazing background story, so he blew me away with where he's come from and why he does what he does. And make sure you stick around to hear about his link to the Olympics. So sit back and enjoy. Thanks.
Excellent. Well, thanks so much for joining me today. So for those of you who are out there listening who don't know who the lovely Mark Smith is, can you tell me a little bit about your story and where you work, Mark, and the fabulous business that you've developed?
Well, my name is Mark Smith. It's probably one of the best names as a lawyer you can have. No one can find you and do that. But my middle names give it away a little bit more interesting in Bade and Jared, but they've now tainted those two names. So I try to avoid that as well. But I'm a lawyer. I'm a lawyer with a firm called SLF Lawyers, which is Smith Leonard Trade Lawyers, which has been going since 2005. It has 75 staff, about 35 lawyers in its practice areas. We're multidisciplinary in that we if someone came to us as a regular normal person, we can do nearly almost everything for them. There's very few areas that we can't do. We've got offices Sydney, Brisbane, Melbourne, and also we've just started our Gold Coast office, and we've also still got a Perth agency. So it's what they call we still call ourselves a boutique firm, but we're probably listed under the law guidelines as what they call a mid-tier firm. I'm one of three owners of the practice. I started in 2005 on my own, and I met Rebecca, my business partner, in 2009. She's been my partner since 2010. She's running Melbourne. She's a bit younger than me. She's also now the managing partner. So those things are really good. So how I got here was interesting. I was till 38 years old. I was a school teacher.
Wow, that's fantastic.
Yeah. I had about 18 years in the bush teaching, and I had my wife, my lovely wife, still teaches, and she's just returned to the bush for a secondment for 16 weeks at Weewandilla. So we're not really driven by money or Brisbane, but we've got a few cows and a small block of property out there. But someone asked me the other day, how did I get to law and what I do? Well, the first thing is I think education set me up for a really good experience in legal for one real reason is that the last job I had in the department was what they call head of student services, and I had from Hewin in the north to Birdsville in the south, and we'd fly to various schools in a six-seat airplane. But what happened to me before that job was I was teaching at a place called Isisford, which is a two-teacher school on the outer Barcoo, where the churches are few, if you know the bush poetry. I'd taken away a group of boys to Townsville called Northwest Queensland, and one of those small boys in that group we suspended due to his poor behaviour. We're not really trying to be negative on this one, but I went back and I got a letter from the Mount Isa, at the time, the Mount Isa Aboriginal Legal Service said, you need to write an affidavit about why you suspended him, etc., etc. Happily did that. There's no recourse to my conduct or anything, but about 3 years later, that young boy that we'd suspended, he actually was in a classroom and he broke his teacher's jaw in an incident. And it's a motivating factor that when I had to write the affidavit and respond to a legal issue when I was in my late 20s, I had no clue about the law. And I said to my wife, we can either, and she didn't want me to move, I'd taken a couple of promotions and we were moving around Western Queensland. She was from Barcaldine. I said, look, we either keep moving around or I like this law, I'm going to go study law. So in my early 30s, I did my entire law degree externally when I was teaching at a place called Ilfracombe. I was teaching principal there, and I did it my course in just over 4.5 years. I'd fly to Brisbane every 3 months for doing in service. And when I left Longreach, I did my PLT. I rang my wife, who was still teaching in Longreach with 4 kids, and I got abused by my oldest daughter, who was 11 at the time. And ironically, she's now studying medicine and she's living in Longreach. So she hasn't moved, although she had to go to Sydney, she prefers Longreach. I've got one teaching at Roma, so the kids are certainly Brisbane kids, but they certainly got a feel for the bush. So I ended up coming in down here, and my wage more than halved. I remember, and if we want to talk numbers, it was about 45% of my teacher wage starting as a first-year lawyer. And I just remember thinking maybe this was the wrong decision from an economic point of view, but I wasn't so much willing to give up. It did scare me, and we wanted to send our kids to good schools, and it just started. And we had a firm where I went out on my own by the third year, and I just started, and someone said, how'd you do it? I said, every day I turned up, and the message to give anyone is every day I get here at 7 every morning, I shave my face, and I go to work, I put my clothes on, and I keep going. And during COVID, people were doing this and that and everything. And I said, what did you do? I said, I went to work every day, I put my work clothes on, and I kept going. So the overnight success story is certainly not there. It's a matter of just consistent behaviour and just being reliable and durable, and being consistent in dealing with your client, your opposing counsel, and also your staff, which is the greatest thing I've got is my staff, because I don't have a business without the 70 odd people. So that's how I got to where I was. We started a small office. Our office, I first committed with 3 people, is as big as this. Now we've got about 400 metres here. We're overlooked the Brisbane River from George Street. Sydney's in Hunter Street, and Melbourne's in Collins Street. So it's come a long way, and I've got some great people. The journey's been tremendous. So we're at a point now where we've got good staff. We just had a meeting just before about who's doing what type of pro bono and charity work. So that's really important. So that's my background in regards to. Thank you very much. Talk about what good stuff.
Very important. Let's state that coffee is so important.
Coffee important. So that's how I got here, and we were very lucky that we somehow kept our heads above water with my wife and I, and the kids survived very well. And I look back on it from a parental thing. I'm glad we had nothing for a long time. We lived in house in Longreach. The kids loved that. When they got to Brisbane, we certainly were doing it tough. And I can recall one of the kids said, we couldn't go to the movies at one stage. We had no money. And tuck shop wasn't even an option at one stage. We just it was good. We didn't go into debt, and I think we get a little bit carried away with what's really important, and I think it's been good for my children. So that's something really good, and that benefited. They're all going to uni now. I speak to my girls. I've got 3 girls in their 20s. I speak to them every day, either by group chat or I'll actually ring them usually on the way home. So that's my driver. My absolute driver is my wife and kids. And I've got a greater. My wider family's really good. We've been very lucky there. So that's how I got here. That's the snapshot. There's been ups and downs in that period, and you just got to roll with it. And the sun comes up the next day, and if I can give a message, it's never as bad as what you think it is at 3 o'clock in the morning. By 6 o'clock, you've usually solved the problem if you've got that stress. And if you can embrace it and cope with it, I think you're better for it. I think what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. So that's my first Mel, and hopefully that gives some idea. I think I don't see myself as any person with a legal brain or anything. I just see myself as somebody who's work hard for your clients, try to obtain results, and have that feeling. But you were raising something before about the 3 big points about business, and I think I've already covered the first one. It's just regular, continual, everyday turn up. You can't have a day off. Or I spoke to a guy last week. He said, a bit flat on Friday, I stayed home, and I know that happens, but maybe it's my age. I'm 55. I just think, no, you finish at 5:30, you just keep going, and then you can cut off rather than because you've only got to do it on Monday. And the other thing that I think that I really embrace is the thing what I call healthy paranoia. That's my step 2.
So healthy paranoia?
Healthy paranoia.
Right. Explain, please explain, Mark.
Fear of failure. Not so much fear of failure. Fear of not doing the right thing by people.
Right.
Have I got a client? Have I updated them enough? Have I spoken to them enough? Do they feel comfortable with my legal advice? Are we going forward in the right way? And with a legal challenge or a battle, and we do a lot of litigation, not every day you're going to have a win. But if your client's happy that you've done everything that you can for them and that you've embraced their, and you've kept them, and there's a lot of stress as a client doing litigation. It's incredible. If you can have your client go through that, and at the end of the day they say, Mark, you did the best I could. We knew our risk. We knew that maybe not all of it would have gone well, and we have a loss or a win or a settlement. That person, you look them in the eye and say, I've done the best, rather than just, as they call, rolling your arm over. I think healthy paranoia is the real cornerstone of running a good business, that you're worried about your staff. Are you all right? Are you good? Have you got that done? Are they worried? Do they know that you're not going to get it done today? Might have to be tomorrow. So it's just a paradigm that you use.
So could you also, Mark, view it sort of healthy paranoia? It's also exploring all of the options and making sure you're speaking more than just one person, or listening to just one opinion.
And people know very quickly if you're not having that engagement. And sure, we get paid for it, but I look at my two other partners who I greatly respect, Beck and John. We have meetings on a Saturday morning. We usually end up in fits of laughter about what's going on. Yeah. John, and unfortunately we do good hours, and if it's 8 o'clock at night, John has to ring me, I'll pick up, and he'll do the same for me. So you got that respect as well. But I did some work, and on the weekend I got part of that Qantas flight from Longreach without that lockdown. I ended up getting down on the weekend, so I was pretty bored. So I did some work on Sunday, and people who run their own businesses, invariably, they don't go, oh, why are you bothering me on a Sunday? Nearly everyone rings back or was speaking to me on Sunday because I was happy to engage on Sunday. And it wasn't because I needed to do it on a Sunday or I wanted. That was just my motivation. And I just find people, if they know that you're quite available, they'll respect you when you say, and I'll say something like, oh, I'm just with the kids now. I'm just out for dinner with my wife. And they go, no worries, Mark, talk to you in the morning. So you've got to have that relationship. So you've got to have that relationship. But it is like, you go back that step to that healthy paranoia. You explore and you go, we could do this or this. Yeah. But, are you all right with it? So there's that emotional and human side of that, the law position. Like, I think there's a lot of things that they call black letter law, but you've got to be more than that these days as well. Yeah.
So it's putting a bit of human into that.
And we've got a really bad rap for black and white and all those things, and I think it attracts some people that sometimes black and white does work, but some of you go, oh, this is what we can do. This is the law. Yeah. For that. And the third one is you've been involved with this for some time now. I've got some lovely people in my organisation. Yeah. And we're growing. And I always remember talking about that thing. Don't get good people, get great people. And we're really working hard on that. And we're driving on that. And I just had 2 weeks holiday, and the place didn't fall apart.
Yay!
And I think
that's a dream, isn't it?
Part of it I thought was maybe I should let go a little bit more, let them be their own people. Maybe they are good people. And I was thinking about it, going, God, I walked back in and no one's come to me and said there's an issue or a problem. Bloody hell, it was a bit scary. So
you mightn't be needed as much, Mark.
I like being around here, but that whole adage about, we all talk about businesses and we all say anyone could run a business if the people are good, and that's where there's a lot of devotion and time, and it's a hard one, that one, and we've got such a diversity of culture here too. We've got we've got 2 Italian lawyers, so you're hearing a lot of Italian in the background. We did an interpretation of the Chinese on Mandarin interpretation of a court in Guangzhou last week. We have an Italian in Sydney. We've got all the Asian languages covered, and we've got a real variety of people. And I think that diversity really helps a firm as well.
So Mark, was that by design, or was that just a happy accident?
People, just happy accident. And I think the whole place has been a happy accident. If anyone had said to me 15 years ago, this is where you'll be, I'd be, no, that couldn't be right. And it's all about people, about the happy accident is, we can do that, or come on board. And I take great value in that. We've also got
So here's a challenge, though. You say it's a happy accident, but there's really some purposeful action from your behalf when it comes to your team, though. It's not just a matter of, oh yeah, they have their lives and I have mine.
Yeah.
So what advice would you give around that then?
It's the value of people. Like, I've got a girl out here. We've got a client is in 30 countries, and they were stressed out of their heads about this court ruling in China. I said, well, let's interpret it first. If this is what you're getting told, why don't you have a second opinion on what it actually says? And it's stacked up. And we got it done within 24 hours.
Yeah.
I've got the lovely Jessica out there who did it. And the client goes, yeah, that's what it was. And just took his mind at ease. So those things are really important. So yeah, the accent comes down to the first thing is, have you got the skills for the job? And it doesn't matter if and remember, our staff, we're 70% female staff as well. So we average about 4 to 5 babies a year in the firm. I've got 2 on maternity leave that I'm managing their comeback, and the promise to them is you return to your own seat, you return to your own office, and you return to your own clients, which is, they're both very good lawyers, so they deserve that, rather than coming back saying, oh, we've moved on, we've floated on. They come back and have this, oh, beauty, I'm valued because I get my job back. I actually get what I want to do back. So, and that's a communication with the people who are replacing them, saying, you do know that you will leave this office when they opt to come back, and you do know that I've got to find you other work because they're here before you. So is that right? So that communication's clear. We also just had a meeting before we came in. Performance. We do a formal performance every year. It's a written document against budget, expectations and goals. So that's really important. We were on Zoom yesterday with about 20 of us, just meeting new people. So that whole interconnectivity between the offices is really important, and getting very much driven by lockdown's been a good thing in some ways, because we're a multi-office. Lockdown's been good for us, Mel. So you know.
So talk me through that, because there are a lot of people out there that lockdown is causing them all sorts of mental health strains, business strains, and just challenges. So talk me through that.
The first stress is that you worry about people who are locked down. If anyone during lockdown last year, if anyone came into the office, I got excited and see them, because I just kept going to the office because we're entitled to as legal practitioners, because we're an essential service. Anyone came in, it was a matter of celebration. Yeah. What do you want for lunch? I'm buying. And we order in, and it was a really different feel. And we were lucky too. About 4 weeks before we actually went lockdown, we changed IT providers. We went top shelf. We probably tripled our cost in IT. And that worked out beautifully. We could all go online. It's still a bit clunky, but we survived. We've also, Melbourne locks down, the mailing gets to file documents, get diverted to Sydney to do the mailing. We kind of got that little bit of collegiality going. So, but coming back, the Friday night Zoom with the trivia pursuit, where the Uber Eats would send out drinks to everybody.
Oh, yeah.
The 6-pack would turn up by Uber, whatever. Here's your beer. You've got to jump on Friday afternoon. You've got to participate and whatnot. And Sydney's doing a bit of a tough one, so I'm jumping on Friday afternoon with them just to see a different face. And I know Sydney, every morning their partner has an 8:30 meeting, and it's just a check-in, and they reckon they don't talk about a lot of law work. They just talk about how we're all going. So Brisbane, thankfully, have survived a lot of that. So Melbourne, I got to Melbourne during the year. It was just horrible down there. Like, it was so depressed. So we and the other thing is professional services during lockdown. We didn't drop any staff when we got the call up that they're going to shut Australia down. We stood down 12 staff for 7 weeks with the promise that they might get their jobs back. It was a horrible day. There were a lot of tears around here. Every one of those staff members came back after 7 weeks on full pay. And we didn't lose anyone. So, and if anything, we've had 3 changes of staff out of 25 in 3 years. So we've done all right in that. But that was a bloody awful day. And we all took a pay cut, and somehow it came back. The work came in different ways. So I still can't. Our greatest achievement was everyone came back to their job, but I still can't work out why it changed. Why the work? People kept buying houses. The conveyancing, you see the human, the workplace stuff's growing for us. It just seems to keep going. So work it out.
Well, I mean, and some people out there might be thinking, well, of course you can do all of that stuff. You're lawyers. You're a law firm. But have you always been able to be able to deliver on some of these things that you're talking about, or has it been you've worked really hard by the sounds of it?
It's come through in COVID because supervision, you still got to physically supervise staff, junior staff, so you've still got to have that face to face. And it even got to the point where Victoria said their LPLC, their governing body, said we won't allow anyone to become unrestricted unless they're in an office being supervised because of insurance purposes. So yeah, you got to work on it. And again, the big drivers are, we don't have a lot of meetings, but we have a regular interactive meeting on Wednesday, on Thursday, where everyone comes in. Someone's got to do learnings. We even do a thing in that meeting. Who is this person? Learnings can be anything from rolling stones through to a legal situation. We have a footy tipping comp. We're all running in the Bridge to Brisbane in a few weeks. There's a charity group setting up. So you got to have a bit more than just your legal stuff. But you got to have a bit of a party too.
So really, when looking at all of this, Mark, you're really putting the human back in being in an office and part of a team and that legal side. Yeah.
And we get it wrong sometimes. But yeah, you just got to keep working on it. It's a constant. You can't just stop and say everyone's set. You've just got to check in with people and say, how are you? And we've been lucky in some. And look, again, life gets in the way sometimes of some people doing their job, and we've had to deal with that. And some of those people come out the other side with us, and they're better for it, and so are we. So, in that regard, that's just what we have to do. And we've kept some staff I know that have had struggled in the past, and they've come through like 2, 3, 4, some of them are 8 or 9 years through now. And our admin team have been all here for about 10 years. I can't believe that. They're great. So Nigel and friends. So we're very lucky, Mel. So and I call myself lucky. So,
I think there's an element of luck, but you're very purposeful in how you operate and how you work. And I think you hit the nail on the head with the healthy paranoia, but also consistency, because you clearly have a why and why you do things, and that's evident throughout everything that you do. And from a personal perspective, for me, dealing with your team is just an absolute pleasure. They are truly a fantastic testament to both your leadership and you as a human, which is essentially what I want to do with this series, is putting the human back in human resources. And we're not always dealing with headaches, and especially to hear from a lawyer who hasn't just been about the law, or when we ask how do you be a successful business, it actually hasn't spoken about compliance and systems and processes. It's all been about the people. So Mark, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much. So really, when we look at it, what I've taken away from this is really about showing up and being consistent. And as you said, checking in and making sure that we're being honest and respectful with each other. But I want to hazard a guess, and especially with my dealings with you and your team, there's definitely humour interlinked with all of that. So it's an absolute pleasure. So just before we go, and I know that you probably already shared a lot, but what would be one thing that people out there wouldn't necessarily know about you, apart from the fact that you were a teacher and started off at half the teacher salary?
The family is very strong in sport, apart from me. So at the moment, I'm watching my sister-in-law manage the Australian water polo team.
Fantastic.
Yeah, my daughter was my third daughter, just when the water polo team left for Tokyo, she was one of the 5 who stayed behind. She's in the Paris squad.
Oh, wow.
My wife actually captained Australia. She played water polo for 11 years for Australia. So my sister-in-law was a gold medalist in Sydney. My brother played for the Wallabies for a number of years. I think 2 of my children they all play sport, and I don't. I like sport, but So
You watch and cheer.
yeah, and I don't get too enamored with sports stars. I've met a lot of them.
Yeah.
They're good at one. Not all of them are good at a lot of things. Some of them are really good at sport. So I get a bit disappointed in people. They're only sports people, and so our family's got even like my sister. There's a number of us who are related to other people. It's just quite amazing, and it just comes as it goes. Like it's not really a huge focus. It's just what you do. So sports huge. And we grew up in the suburb of Rochedale in Logan, and it was open spaces, and you had a bike and a ball to play with, and I think it had a lot to do with it. So we had a very fortunate upbringing out there. It was fantastic. So and sports still big. So last night we did water polo on. Got the goalkeeper.
We did.
The goalkeeper was a Queenslander. Her mother went to teachers college with me, and another one was a neighbour of my wife's parents. So it's very small, the water polo. So
that's amazing. That's amazing. Well, bring on Brisbane 2032, hey?
Yeah, I don't know who will be around then. I'll be retired.
Someone will be managing or involved.
Retired as a volunteer.
Excellent. Well, Mark, thank you so much for your time this morning. Your humility is absolutely astounding, and I do count myself so very lucky to be part of your network and for you to be part of mine, and it's truly an absolute pleasure. So thank you so much for your time this morning.
Thanks, Mel. Good
awesome.
on you.
Thanks so much. Okay, bye.